Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to give you 4 stretches to increase your flexibility and your mobility. These exercises will stretch your anterior chain, the front part of your body, that is the chest, abs, quads, etc. The posterior chain, so that's your back, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your lateral chain, so that's everything on the side, and also your hip flexors. If you do these exercises, you'll also reduce the chances of you getting an injury or pain from working out as well. So the first exercise to stretch out your anterior chain and increase your flexibility there is called the bridge. So what the bridge does is it contracts the back, all the back muscles, and completely stretches out the front. It's extremely good because usually in our daily lives, when we sit around, our backs are rounded, so our anterior chain normally never actually gets stretched properly. So this exercise will also help you strengthen your back and your spine, so that will reduce the chances of injuries that you might get related to your back or your spine. For example, like lower back problems related to working out, for example, from deadlifts. The bridge can help reduce the pain of that. However, it won't completely eliminate it unless you get to the root of the problem, which is a weak back and also not using proper form. So the bridge can help and reduce pain in the meanwhile. So if you're not flexible enough to actually do a full bridge yet, you can start off by doing easy progressions. So the first one is what you see here, a shoulder bridge. This is also a good exercise to help strengthen your glutes and your hamstrings. The second progression is doing half bridges, where your hands are elevated. So you don't stretch your back as much, but it is still a good progression step towards the full bridge. As the half bridge gets easier, you want to gradually lower the platform that you put your hands on until you can actually have your hands on the ground. The second stretch that I have here to increase your flexibility is for your posterior chain. So we're going to start off with the toe touch and eventually work our way up to the L-sit or the V-sit. So what you see here, when you do a toe touch, you're completely stretching out your back and also kind of contracting your front. So this will stretch out your back, your glutes, and your hamstrings, and your calves as well. Start off by just trying to go as low as you can and eventually work your way down to pressing your hands flat against the floor. Once you can press your hands against the ground with a toe touch, then you can start moving on to L-sits. I would start off by doing the L-sit on something like parallel bars. If you don't have that, you can use 2 chairs. Start off with just a knee sit, and then eventually bring your legs out in small increments until you can eventually get them straight. If you can already do an L-sit and you find them to be too easy, you can try raising your legs further up into a V shape. The third exercise is called the twist hold, and it stretches out your lateral chain. So for this, you're probably going to need a rope, a cord, or some material that is long enough. What I use is a shirt. So just get into the position that you see here, and then eventually what you're going to do here is stretch out your sides, and eventually a full hold will mean that your hands are clasped together. However, if you're not flexible enough to have your hands touching yet, then that's why you need the towel or the material, that is, so you can hold onto it and eventually bring your hands closer together over time. So the next stretch that we have is for your hip flexors. There's a few variations to the hip flexor stretch, but you need to be doing at least one of them. So the hip flexor stretch is useful for people who have tight hip flexors. That usually comes from people who sit around a lot. That's everyone. Because when you're in a seated position, your legs are usually like this. Your hip flexor finds itself in this position all the time. So eventually, it doesn't need to be flexible enough to actually go back so it gets tighter and tighter. What you want to do is stretch it out so you have full mobility and your hip flexors aren't tight anymore. So there you have it. Those are the 4 exercises that I do for more mobility and flexibility. Personally, I incorporate this into my cool down, but you can do it like whenever you want, first thing in the morning or before you go to bed. I do 2 to 3 sets of 20-second holds. But if you can't do at least 20 seconds yet on the easiest progressions that I gave you, then it's fine. Just do as much as you can. So try this. I can guarantee that you will become more mobile, more flexible. And if you're one of those guys who lifts and always happens to get injuries and pain in your body, try this out. I promise you that you will feel reduced pain. That's all the time I've got for this video. I'll see you guys next time.